Welcome to Just a Thought, a podcast for women who've turned self-reflection into a lifestyle. Around here, we get into the messy stuff, mental health, connection, and the daily chaos of being a human. It's kind of like therapy, but with some sarcasm and fewer co-pays. I'm your host, Pia James, and every week we'll obsess over one subject we know best, ourselves, because if you're going to spiral, why not make it about yourself? This is Just a Thought. Welcome to Just a Thought. Today's episode, what if the real reason your relationship feels disconnected has nothing to do with communication and everything to do with intimacy? You never learn to build. Today, we're sitting down with intimacy coach Dr. Stacy, who's rewriting the rules of connection. Welcome, Dr. Stacy.
How are you? Thanks for having me today talking about sex and intimacy.
I'm so excited. Okay, so all the girlies, I had them put in the questions, and this is going to be a fun show. So, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and what made you pursue this direction of a career?
Yeah, absolutely. Long story short, ever since I was young, I was always the person that people came
Okay.
to talk sex and intimacy. And they used to nickname me Dr. Ruth when I was younger. And so here, Dr. Ruth turned into Dr. Stacy. But I've always been very open-minded. And then once I had kids, I did like the adult romance parties. I've always been kind of sexually minded.
Mm-hmm.
And after I had my daughter, I started doing the adult parties, selling all the toys, but then I had issues personally with my relationship and with sex. And I had a difficult time with having actual intercourse due
Wow.
to my delivery.
Mhm.
So I had painful sex for 6 years and I was not able to literally have sex unless it was to try if a treatment worked because it was just pure torture. And I went from doctor to doctor to doctor. Obviously, it was affecting my marriage, my relationship, and there was really nobody around to help. I literally spoke to 45 doctors and went to 9 physically to examine me. And when I finally found someone that could help, it still emotionally affected my relationship. So I was talking to the only person available, which was a 75, 80-year-old man who was a sex therapist. And I said, there's got to be other people out here to help support people who are having sexual issues, especially younger women. So I said, this is what I'm doing. And I have a background in ultrasound. I was an ultrasound technologist for 26 years. So I had the medical background and I just went to school. I got my doctorate in human sexuality. And here I am. So that's a long story short.
So, how was the community when you were going to school, being a woman entering into this field? Was it more male dominated or female dominated?
Well, I went about 16 years ago
Mhm.
and it was definitely more male dominated. But when I started going to the coaching program,
Mhm.
I think we got a lot more women that started actually more so than men. When I first started, it was, okay, well, am I going to fit in here? And then now it was more women getting out there because we all realize we need to speak up about positive sexuality and about pleasure because we're always taught to be quiet and censored. And we all don't want to be quiet no more. We just want to get out there and tell it like it is.
Yes. Now, in the classroom settings, were the women actually being vocal or were they withholding their voice because the men had such a heavy presence?
Well, we did a lot online,
Mhm.
and because more of a coaching program, and when I did my doctorate program, it was more about research and everything like that. So we didn't have to be so much in that so-called classroom setting. But one thing that we were able to do is we built a community on Facebook, and everybody was just very open, very willing to help each other. So even though at the beginning it might have been more male dominated,
Mhm.
as we got women in, it just everybody was willing to help everybody else. So it was really, really a very close-knit community, which it still is.
That's really amazing because,
Yeah,
when women are talking about intimacy in any form, it feels like it's very cringing to talk about. Instead of being open and free and sharing what you really want to say, you wind
right.
up reframing your word choice to fit the
Yeah,
audience that you're in front of. Essentially, when you reframe how I see it, there's a time to reframe and there's a time to just speak your truth because there's nothing wrong with directness when it comes to
right.
something that is concerning for you because every voice when it comes to sexuality is different. Some may be very vocal and outspoken. Some may be quiet and meek, and that's okay. So I wanted to see how it was in the classroom, and also too to see if the men had really interesting topics that they were talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like you said, when you're in a situation where you're having so many different personalities, the people who are getting into this field are usually pretty outspoken about sex and intimacy in the first place because we're getting into it for a
Mhm.
purpose of sharing the positive sexuality word out there. The purpose of, with the political climate being so censored and against so much about sex and intimacy and who we are as individuals, we all just wanted to just be. We want to be able to say, this is what I like, this is what I want. And it was just a oneness we all felt in the community, which we still do. I just gave myself goosebumps. I mean, that's how close it is when you're dealing with people that truly believe in the importance of pleasure and being who you are.
I love that you guys were able to read off each other's energy and create
Yep.
that environment, because when the energy is flowing in a high frequency and everybody's going with the same sound of mind, it does spark like, yes, we can do this.
So I'm telling you, I still have them. You can't see them, but I still have goosebumps because of that energy. It really even transforms me now, even after 16 years, because of the feeling of community and the positive messages that we're sending.
That's amazing. You mentioned that you were having a lack of sex. I guess your libido probably was low when after you had your child. What was going on hormonally when you had that shift?
Yeah, I mean, my libido was non-existent. Listen, I try to tell this explained to men when they can't understand when their partner has pain. Most men, when they have bad sex, it's because they don't ejaculate. Most women, when they have bad sex, it's because they're in pain.
Mhm.
And a lot of men don't understand that because they don't have pain very often. And so, what I try to explain to people is that when a woman has pain, it's like taking a cut and pouring alcohol on the cut and then expecting someone to say, here, do it again, do it again. It's the libido was non existent, but I had a relationship, I had a marriage. And you feel less than a person, you feel less than a woman, less than a lover, less than a wife, less than a mom. I mean, there was just so much less than that I felt. And I think that hormonally, I was going through because of having a child. And that in itself was difficult. And then to deal with this painful sex for someone like me, who my first name was sex, I didn't know, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do with myself. So when I did go to the sex therapist, now I do coaching, which is a little different because I'm working more with the sexual health versus the mental health,
Right.
but I still can help people along that way. But when I went to the therapist, I'm like, what do I do? What do I do to get back to who I was? And he, kind of gave me some tools and stuff like that. And it helped for a little while, but until I actually got fixed. So everybody out there, I got fixed. I'm all better. It took a while to really get into that mind space, but I learned so much, what made me realize, you know what, I could help other people that are going through this as well, which is why this is one of my specialties.
That's awesome. I want to slow us down just a little bit. When you mentioned about the mind space that you had to put yourself in, can you just walk me through that in real time? Was it meditation? Was it journaling? Or was it seeking a therapist?
Crying every day. No, I had to go to a therapist because when you're younger, I was 26. Even though I was very sexually in tune with myself and my body, that's what I was. I was a sexual, highly, highly sexual being. And when you took that away from me, you took away my identity. And I didn't know how to live anymore as who I was without that. And so the therapy was extremely important in helping understand my relationship, helping understand. And I did my own personal therapy, not just couples. That really helped. I was never into the meditation where now I am more because I understand the importance of that being in that space. But the therapy was very important. The communication was very important because at the time, my ex husband was not very communicative because he didn't know what to do. And so we both were just kind of like, I'd sit there and cry and he'd sit there and watch me. We didn't know what to do. And we had this baby and it was such a stressful time. But with understanding how to connect with your partner and things that I learned that I actually teach now made it livable. It made it where we actually were able to get through that. Wasn't 100%, but we were able to get through that.
Nothing is 100%. I mean,
No.
I know that people think like, okay, well, I'm just going to go healing and it's going to be 100% at the end. And it's like, no, it's a give and take. Lose something that you no longer needed or you didn't think that you no longer needed, and you gain something new that you can add. It's shifting back and forth, but it
Right.
never necessarily gets back to this 100% type of a thing.
No, it did it, because I didn't have the support I needed at the beginning. And, like I said, there really wasn't anybody to help other than this 75, 80-year-old gentleman. We lost a lot in our relationship. We lost a lot of our intimacy and a lot of our connection. And we struggled at the beginning to have it in the first place. So after quite a few years, it really took a toll. Like I said, it took almost 6 years to find the right surgeon to help me because I wound up needing surgery.
Wow.
But, that's the one thing that helped. And by that time, after 6 years of all this traumatic experience, it did take a toll on my marriage. Hence the reason why was divorced.
I was going to ask you that question. Like, is this the man that you're still married to in this moment?
No, I am remarried. Both of us are remarried and we're very good friends. My ex and I were close, we're friendly. It's just we were friends and we didn't have that marriage relationship. And now I'm in a relationship. I've been with my husband. We've been together 13 years, married. We just had our 5-year anniversary and it's the most incredible relationship I could ever imagine being in. And so actually a lot of what I teach others when I work is things that I do in my own marriage where I wake up every day with a smile and an incredible relationship.
If someone's going through that transition like you, when they had a baby and their libido is now low, what tools would you give them to give advice to their family? Because sometimes I think it's not necessarily about you, the client. It's about trying to help the family understand that you are in a different space and it's hard to get them on board.
When you're saying family, do you mean like just like your partner?
Your partner, like your partner, or maybe him speaking to his mother, your community.
Yeah, and that was extremely important is community. Thank God I had my mom at the time to be very supportive when I was going through it, but you need to open up because painful sex, first of all, is not normal. Second of all, after having a baby, a lot of women, because I know I did, go through the postpartum
Mhm.
a depression and you feel like you're a terrible mom and you feel like no one's going to understand, you have to open up to your family. Speak to your partner, let your partner know what you're going through. But what happens many times is that the partner would just be like, you never want sex, da 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 da. And then you have these issues where the partner's angry and then the wife is even more turned off because of the anger. And so it's so important for, first of all, to get your hormones checked, understand that, especially if you have low libido the first year after pregnancy, your body takes 9 months to get pregnant. It takes at least 9 months to get rid of and get your hormones leveled. And so if you're depressed, if you feel, it's stressful having a baby, go to therapy, potentially learn some coping mechanisms. Maybe you need some medication because hormonally you might be off, but definitely have a conversation with your partner, have a conversation maybe with a parent, a cousin, a best friend, somebody that you can talk to just know that you are normal and it will get better as long as you kind of help yourself get those tools.
I feel like men don't realize saying that the woman doesn't want to have sex is essentially blaming her for something that she
Mm.
doesn't have control over in that moment. Try to understand that when I say I don't want to have sex, that you ask a leading question. Well, how are you feeling in this moment? Or what can I provide for you in this moment to help facilitate or navigate you in the right headspace? Because it could be something as maybe she had a rough day and this child has been on her nipple all day and she doesn't want to feel like a milking cow, you know?
Like,
Or maybe
sure.
she's just right, like she's tired and she's sleepy and she hasn't gotten enough sleep. Or maybe she's been dealing with thoughts all day. Am I a good mother? Am I a good mother? Maybe I'm a bad mother. Maybe I'm not as good at the moms at the park. They have all these questions that are going through their head. But the partner needs to ask leading questions that can help get her out of the mindset that she's in to then create a safe environment because sex for women is very emotional for us.
Absolutely.
It feels like it's completely different. Yes, we could be attracted to you, but if we have a lot going on emotionally, it's hard for us to say, "Hey, I can get turned on from this." At least I'm just speaking from my experience. I'm very an emotional creature.
No, every woman's experience, and that's the thing is, like you said, I love how you said leading questions because so many times people say, "Oh, do you want to go have sex?" No, I don't want to. Why don't you find out what it is that you can do to help bring arousal around? Because most women are considered responsive desire. What can I do to help you respond to something? What do you need? Do you want me to take the baby so you could take a half an hour nap? Do you
Right.
want me to bring the child to the store so you can get some stuff done at the house? Do you want me to just give you a massage now that the baby's sleeping? Do you want me just to give you a massage to help you relax with no expectations?
Right.
Those kind of things. It's just allow it to get started in a way that there is no expectations, and you never know where it could wind up leading when you get that person in that mental, relaxed mindset. But when you go out right away and ask, of course the answer is going to be no.
Right? And I hate to say this because I'm trying not to make this about me. Really not. But what I find that kind of irritates me is when a man is like, can we have sex? Why are we asking the question instead of you putting me in the mood to have sex? Because it's a nonverbal cue that you're sending to your partner. The way you're touching them, the way you're speaking to them, the way you could be even cleaning the bedroom. And that person's like, I like the way you're doing that.
Right,
Like,
right.
you get what I'm saying? Like, but when you like,
Doing
can we have sex? Right. It's like, can we have sex? No, I don't want to have sex. You're gonna ask me? You didn't even put me in the mood to even want to do it. Like, shift my mind.
Right. And that goes to people that are in menopause as well when you have lack of drive. And let's say you've been in a relationship for years, because a lot of times we're talking about people that have been in relationships for a couple of years and they're having kids. But then you get into long-term relationships where you truly need to have that, turn on, that arousal at the beginning to even have any desire. Because women, as we are in long-term relationships, biologically, our hormones change. Biologically, our testosterone drops. That's what helps arousal. And so, if our testosterone drops and we replace it with the oxytocin, which is the love hormone, we love our partner. We're attracted to our partner, but that doesn't mean when we say no, it doesn't mean we don't love you, we don't want you. It just means the act is something we have to get our mind into because it's something we have to do. And
Right.
women, so many times, have this to-do list all the time in their heads. So, like you said, do something, maybe just come up and kiss us, give us a passionate kiss, and then just walk away and leave us wanting.
I love that. I love the mystery of leaving me. Women that are dealing with menopause or premenopause, how does the desire for sexual intimacy change?
Well, first of all, I just started menopause myself, hence my menopause fan. I use all the time. It's great, especially when I'm talking about sex. I get a little hot. But it's so important, first of all, because people think, oh, as soon as I have menopause, my desire is done. It's over. But you know what? What happens is that a lot of times what I was saying is you're in a long-term relationship and the desire is not there because your relationship is not providing it. And so we need to figure out, first of all, how to provide the desire, the arousal. And second of all, we need to check our hormones. For people who are okay, that are allowed to use hormone therapy, it could be extremely helpful. I started it. You have to kind of take it a few different ways, a few different amounts for it to actually connect because you don't know exactly what cocktail is going to work. But most people in menopause, your testosterone is depleted, and that's the sexy hormone that you need. And so you do things like that, but you also want to take care of yourself. Take time to take yourself a bath. Don't stop masturbating. A lot of women don't even start. Get it going, girl. Keep the juices flowing. Otherwise, you atrophy. It shrivels up and dies. You want to keep it rich with moisture and lubrication and juicy because otherwise, your body just kind of forgets what it's like to feel pleasure.
You mentioned masturbation. People don't want to masturbate. Men, they will hijack that way real quick. But a woman, she's like, no, a man needs to touch me. I want you to get to this place where women could know what they taste like. You know what your pleasure desire is when you first feel yourself through yourself. I love the fan. I love the fan. I'm here for it.
Yourself, I'm getting all hot here.
Listen, have you ever had a client who came in and she didn't practice masturbation? And how did you leave her to get to that desire within herself.
Yeah, there's a lot of women who don't masturbate or they say, I have a man. What do I need to do this for? Or the one thing I hear a lot of is, I don't have desire. I'm not in the mood to do it. And what I tell people, it is so important on a daily basis to energize yourself, to start the day with a good mood, energy, all this kind of stuff. The best way to do that is to play with yourself every morning or a few mornings a week. Go get yourself on the side. Pretend this is not a fan. Go like this, take it, go into the bedroom, take 2 minutes because usually it doesn't take that long, couple minutes, start your day with a bang, bring up the epinephrine and the serotonin and all the great hormones, and you can walk around like you got it going on. It just gives you also some great blood flow to the heart, to the body, to your organs. And even if you don't do it in the morning, it could also help you in the evening to relax and to get a good night's sleep. And so it's very important to masturbate to also keep that blood flow, get your body to know what it's like to remember what it's like to have that orgasm. I just teach people because a lot of people don't even know how to have an orgasm. So I teach people how to do that as well and how to love themselves.
Exactly. If you could just give us two of your tricks in your bag to just help that thing come alive.
Well, first of all, boy, 2 tricks. Let's see. One of the things is if people are not comfortable, excuse me, I recommend to get a toy because there are a lot of people that want to masturbate or want to try it, but they don't feel comfortable using their own hands. Sometimes they'll say using their hands takes too long or they don't get turned on. So there are toys that they can use that are like a stick that maybe they can use their hands. So that way it's not necessarily connected where they're not touching themselves. So they don't feel as so-called dirty or that it's wrong. And they can imagine that it's somebody else doing it. Toys can be very, very helpful. And you don't even have to insert anything because most women will orgasm through clitoral play. Only about 20 to 25 actually do it internally, 25%. So that would be one thing is get yourself a little toy and do something like that. Another thing is to get yourself in a mindset of, what is the purpose of the clitoris? Do you know the purpose of the clitoris? The only reason why we have it is because of pleasure. We were born to deserve and to have pleasure. And so if we have the mindset of, if you're doing this for health purposes, first of all, like I said, to help with your blood pressure, to help with your mood, to help you with relaxing, with anxiety, with stress, you can do it with that mindset, knowing that this is something that's healthy for you and can help you learn your body so you could have better sex and better intimate relations with your partner.
I like that. Now,
Yeah,
have you ever invited your clients to have masturbation with their partners present in the bedroom?
that's fun. Absolutely. You know, a lot of people think of masturbation as private, and a lot of people feel shame about it. And so, what I try to teach people is that if you are not having sex, it's probably because you're not having good sex and you're not getting much out of it. And so, when you can watch your partner touch themselves, play with themselves, not only could it potentially be a turn on for your partner, but your partner knows exactly what to do to please you. And there's so many women that are like, well, I don't need to sit there and watch my husband play with himself. And I'm like, yeah, but don't you want to know how to be able to get him off better? And same thing with the men. Don't you want your partner to know where to touch you, how to touch you? People will complain that their partners are going like this, and I'm like, but if you like it softer and slower and more gentle, if you feel uncomfortable telling him, show him, masturbate together. It's a very, very close experience.
So let's say someone's being very hesitant because I can see somebody saying, well, I can't do that.
Right.
How do you get your clients to shift their perspective in a safe way where they can hear what you're saying and then go home and practice these techniques?
Right. Well, the first thing is just being comfortable with it alone. You can't just expect someone, especially if they've never really masturbated or are not comfortable masturbating, to go ahead and just be like, here, come watch me. It's not going to happen. They need to feel comfortable alone doing it. They need to also understand, because I had one woman that refused to have an orgasm with sex, even though she was able to, because the one time she did it, her husband laughed because he was so excited that he got her to have an orgasm. And he was laughing like, oh my God, oh my God. And she was humiliated and mortified and would not do it again. And I said, you're taking away your pleasure because of someone laughing when he's explaining to you. He's laughing because he was so excited of how happy he made. You need to get all those blocks out of there. I mean, that takes practice. It takes some time and it is a process, but you need to just go into that with the confidence and almost not saying to be selfish, but obviously you want to do what's right for your partner as well. But go in there and be like, I am a goddess. I deserve this, and I am going to touch myself until I come like crazy, and you're going to watch. It's almost like change that mindset of you being in charge and in control and not worry about judgment. Go in with curiosity because so many times we go in judging ourselves. Don't judge. Be curious about it. Say, what does this feel like? What can I make out of it? What can I feel out of it? What could my partner learn from it? Judgment is kills all libido, kills all drive, kills all experience. Go in with curiosity.
That curiosity,
Yeah.
because curiosity has this mystical, mysterious notion behind it. And it also puts you in a state of mind of, well, let me actually go search for the thing, right? Let me
Let
see
me
what's behind it, right? It's giving yourself permission to try without using the word try. And I love that you use that for your clients.
Yeah, curiosity is a word I use very, very often because when you are being curious, you're not able to judge because you're going in with a mindset of, let me just try it. What the hell? If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Where's the judgment coming from?
Right.
Get
Um,
rid of it.
what's an intimacy block that you see with your clients that can be repetitive?
An intimacy block? I mean, a lot of it is shame, a lot of it is embarrassment, and a lot of it also is what they've learned religiously. That's a huge, huge block that I find in my practice is religious trauma. And what I mean by trauma, it means what they've learned through their religious background that keeps them from doing what they want to do because their fear is what's going to happen when I die, or what's going to happen to me. Someone's watching down on me. You have one life to live. You have the right to tell your story and live your story the way you want to. You are in a consenting relationship, most likely. And if it's something that you want to do, change your story, make your story your own, have the best relationship. Everybody in this world, God, whatever religion you believe in, they want you to be happy. That's what it's all about is a sense of belonging. And if you are in a relationship that you belong in, that you are comfortable in, and you feel like it's something that you want to do, but you shouldn't, ask yourself the question, is this me telling me that I shouldn't? Or is it something that I think I've learned somewhere else that makes sense or does not make sense for me? If it doesn't make sense for you, you could still change it and still value your background, but make it work in your relationship because this is where you are. This is what you have. This is the life you're living, and this is the partner you're with. And you want to be happy. You don't want to go through divorce, and you want to just be good. That is such a huge, huge intimacy block that I see in my relationships, as well as people just saying no without allowing themselves to get themselves in the mood. They'll just automatically say, no, and then not allow themselves to be in the moment. So those are two different things, the religious aspect and not allowing themselves to be in the moment.
So grateful that you mentioned the religious aspect of it, especially in today's climate where Gen Zs are not sure if they want to practice religion because they have seen what religion has done to their parents and their grandparents. There's this part of them that wants to reject it because they feel that it is very constraining to them and their lived experience. They want to be free, they want to enjoy, and they don't want to have someone crusading over them. For anybody that's out there listening, the creator allowed us to have sex for our pleasure. It's how we able to procreate life. So don't feel so stringent in your religion that you kind of tie your body up to a very good experience if you will allow yourself that freedom.
Yeah, no, I agree. I just think that, the whole aspect of religion, take what makes sense to you and you can still be part of something. You could still have that background. And then the things that don't make sense or are not working for you, it's not a one fits all. You know, if you read everything, it doesn't make sense that it would fit every single person. You can't fit every single person. So do what makes sense. And if things are not working for you in your situation, make that change and keep everything else.
So we have been seeing a lot in social media and just in our climate, and even in the 60s and 70s, where it comes around consent and older men dating younger women, women being groomed by men, you name it. So have you ever experienced clients coming into your practice that may have been sexually violated and trying to figure out how to get back in their bodies after that experience?
I have. And one of the things is being a coach, I don't work as much with processing through any type of abuse or trauma, but I do work with people that have already gone through that and have processed that through therapy. And then they come to me to try to find ways to get, like you said, back into their body. They've processed through the abuse or trauma or any type of assaults or anything that they have had, and then they come to me. And one of the things that is the most important thing in any relationship is safety. And so if you're not, people say, oh, the most important thing is communication. You're not going to communicate if you don't feel safe. So safety is number one. And for people that have had any type of trauma or abuse, they're not feeling safe. And so once they go through that trauma and through the processing, if they have a situation in a relationship where they start feeling safe, then I'm able to work with them to say, okay, these are some of the steps. But it all depends on where they're stuck. Because if they're stuck at the very beginning where they're like, all intimacy kind of freaks me out, but now I'm ready, we're going to start with just holding hands. We're going to start giving kisses on the cheek. We're going to start giving a 20-second hug versus, being in bed all smothering. We're going to start very, very, early. But if people are good with that, but they're just being triggered by, let's say, certain things in the bedroom, then we focus on taking intercourse off the table and we just focus on certain touches. So it really just depends on where they are in their healing journey as to what we do to move them forward. But there are definitely steps to take. It's not, something where people cannot get the support. There's always support available if they're willing to do it.
Now, let me ask you a question. Have any of your clients ever came to you and asked you what is consent, non-consent? Let's say they may be interested in BDMS and going through that process with their partner or trying to bring in toys into the bedroom. How do you help navigate them with those type of questions?
Yeah, absolutely. And consent is obviously very, very important, and you don't want to do anything without consent. But we do talk a lot about boundaries, depending on, especially with BDSM or even just toys or handcuffs, things like that. Because one of the things is people are like, oh, I'm not going to do that. I'd be afraid I can't get out. So we talk about just starting slow and maybe starting with a little. Yeah, they're afraid. They're going to be tied in. They're not going to be able to get themselves out. We start with just maybe doing one wrist and allowing that to happen. We start with a small little toy and not something that's penetrative. And we talk and we get our clients to have conversations. And there's also, which I do have, a yes, no, maybe list. If anyone wants, they can contact me at drstacyfriedman.com and just message and say, yes, I'd love to get that yes, no list, but the yes, no, maybe list. What that is, it helps with consent, it helps with boundaries, and it helps with saying, okay, well, these are things I would do. These are things I would not do. And these are things I'm open to with discussion. So sometimes those types of things are very helpful when you're talking about consent and boundaries.
Like that you created a list. I'm a girl with a list. I love being able to say here on the
I have
spot.
I have tons of lists. I have my newsletter. Every time you sign up for the newsletter, you get a list. I have a lot of great lists, desire lists. But the yes, no, maybe list is great for what you were talking about for the consent and boundaries. And just, even if you're not even sure what is out there, some of these things on the list will be like, oh, I didn't know that that existed. What is that? It allows you to also bring about curiosity and like, let me try that. I might try that if we talk about it.
Have you had any couples come in your practice and they want to introduce toys into the bedroom, and the man could be feeling that maybe introducing this toy means that something is wrong with him or he feels inadequate? How did you help them navigate that process?
First thing I say is that women, about 20 to 25% of women could have intercourse and have orgasms. The 75 to 80% of women struggle with orgasms. And so if a woman wants to bring in a toy and that's going to help her with pleasure, by all means, that man should want that woman to be happy and feel pleasure. A lot of men may be intimidated thinking, well, I'm not good enough for you that you need a toy. Just get over it, okay? Women need extra support, and it has nothing to do with whether they're attracted to their partner, if their partner's doing it right. You could have an incredible sexual relationship with your partner and still not be able to orgasm without a toy. Okay, that is normal. All right. So all the men out there, that is normal. It's not about you. What your job is to help her with arousal, help her with the desire, help her, while she's playing with herself, suck her nipple, give her a kiss, play with her inner, tickle her inner thighs. You're a part of it. The toy is not going to replace the emotion and the feeling that it is with a man or a woman or a partner. It's not going to replace it. Enjoy it.
Dr. Stacy, at this point, I'm like, I'm ready to end this thing so we can really talk because when I tell you, I don't know, internalize it as something is wrong with them. I'm your partner, and this is supposed to be a safe space. So if I'm asking you, hey, let's try something, and you say, okay, don't say okay and then feel the love of inadequacy. Just tell me before so we can fix that before we then go into this new mindset.
Right. It's an ego thing. I mean, men, and it's not even men's fault. A lot of it is society's because society expects men to know it all, do it all, and be these gods in bed. And when they're not, women will say things to them like, be a man or grow some balls or things like that. And I think that's terrible. And it keeps men from really being vulnerable and feeling comfortable in their sexuality. There are so many men that I work with that have performance anxiety because of how their partners have spoken to them.
Really?
Female part absolutely. I'm working with one right now, as a matter of fact. And the problem is that society expects men to know it all when it comes to sex. And you know what? We only learn with what we experience. And if a man is doing something with one woman and things are explosive, you do it with another woman, every single person is going to want and need and desire something different. So just because you know what you're doing with one doesn't mean you're going to know what you're doing with the other. And when a woman says, I had an experience with a woman that was with her partner for 10 years. They got together, they're in their 50s, and she didn't like the way he kissed. And I said, well, why don't you teach him? She goes, he's 50 something years old. We've been together 10 years. He should know. And I said, no, tell him, show him. And she was pissed at me. She was like, this is ridiculous. This is stupid. I said, just humor me. Go home, teach him, show him, do it. She did it. She came back the next time and she had this huge grin on her face. And I said, what's the face for? She goes, I have never been weak in my knees by my husband's kiss until I taught him what to do. And I got goosebumps. I said, because I remember that experience. And I said, this just shows the power of communication, the power of being vulnerable, the power of not having your ego. He allowed her to teach him without being that, yo, I can't learn. I'm a man, getting rid of that. And so we got to get rid of the men's ego, allowing the man to say, oh, you want to use a toy? What can I do to help you make it that much better? And stop thinking it's all about the penis. It's not.
Can we just park right there? Yes, it is not about the penis, okay? The vulva needs some love, honey. She wants to be caressed a little bit. Women have like, 1,000 neurons into the clitoris that can vibrate that level of orgasm inside of them. I want the man to get curious and just like, how can I just sit there and just admire it? How can I speak over it and speak life into it? How can I
Oh,
just,
yeah.
like, give me something sexual and sensual that's gonna make me be like, okay, here's my legs, take it up a little bit, okay? Yes.
They found out at first it was 8,000 nerve endings. And now they did a study and they found that there's 10,400 nerve endings in the clitoris and about 4,000 in the head of the penis. So the clitoris is rich with, and it's funny because it's so rich with nerve endings, but yet so difficult to have an orgasm because it's almost like it could be too much or not enough, and it depends on where you're at. But if the man could focus on not worrying so much about, well, you know what, my penis is supposed to do all the work, Talk about your fingers, talk about your lips, your tongue, explore. I have, of course, it has to be purple. I have a purple vagina. Okay. And what I'm showing you here is that you have a clitoris that is not just the tip. It goes along the sides of the vulva. And so when you're entering in here or when you're licking, too many men are just focusing on this going, no, go around because you're reaching all of this juicy area over here as well. Put your tongue in the vaginal canal. Reach, okay, I need my fan. But
Listen.
do all the, but this is what we need to focus on.
Dr. Stacy.
Worrying about if the toy is going to do something. Just pay attention to what a woman needs and you'll keep her around.
When you
Did
are
I make you speak?
I had to think about recording room. So when women are coming to you, do you have like a one-on-one mock, essentially a mock interview of how they can gently speak to their partner of introducing this difficult conversation in the bedroom?
Well, usually if I'm working with couples, I work with the couple as a couple first for the first session. And then I do a one-to-one separately to learn what each individual wants. And then we reconvene as a couple. And sometimes I'll take an individual, in between, depending on what they need. So if one of the issues is when I learn when I'm one-to-one with them that they feel uncomfortable with the toy or uncomfortable introducing things, I'm already one-to-one. So I would already either, depending on how much more we need, either set up another appointment or I just talk with them and say, this is a good way to go about it. Make sure you have that conversation. But it's also important to have that conversation with the other partner in the room as well, because then they don't feel like they're the ones asking. It's me bringing it up. So they don't feel as embarrassed or shameful. But it's definitely something that, we work on to get people comfortable. It's all about comfortable communicating sexually. And I definitely work on that.
Okay, y'all. Y'all better go and reach out to Dr. Stacy because she's saying all the good things. I'm liking this, Dr. Stacy. Okay. Have you ever had a partner where they wanted to explore double penetration, but without bringing someone into the bedroom other than just two people?
You said double penetration?
So a man and a woman is asking for double penetration, but they don't want to invite anybody in the bedroom.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. There's people that this is kind of the same example that I give when people want threesomes, but they don't want another person. There are so many toys that I offer. They're all on my website. I have a shop and you can get suction cup dongs. You can get double dongs. You can get different dildos, things that vibrate. There's so many things that you can do. And if you're not sure about size, there's different sizes where sometimes you would have to interview a person and say, what size are you to know? But if there's any type of double penetration they want, they can bring in, there's tons of butt toys that I have that you can bring in and do it at the same time. And if you kind of like the idea of it being more phallic because you want it to appear as another man, you get a phallic dildo and you use it at the same time and have your partner use it. And it's kind of a little bit more personal because your partner is doing it for you rather than having that extra person there. And that's the same thing, like I say, with a threesome. You can pretend by using a toy. So that could be really, really helpful for fantasy, because it's all healthy fantasy.
Yes. Let's live out these romance books in real time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what toys are for. That's what toys are for. And also, if people do go to my site and choose a toy, use the code PURPLE. You get 20% off your entire order. Purple. You can't forget it.
I love that. You want them to have good sex and save them a discount.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And using my favorite color.
See, that energy be purpling. It's vibrating really great today. In your experience, what is the sexual peak desire for women?
When the kids are a little bit older and they're not babies and they're able to make their sandwiches on their own, probably I would say around the typical mid 30s, because people, like I said, have already gone through that baby stage if they are in a family and if they are in a relationship that has a family. That is a very common place that their drive starts peaking. And that's because they don't have as much responsibility where they have to carry the baby on the time. They don't have the kids on top of them. And that's where they have a little bit more bodily autonomy, where a little bit more freedom to not have somebody sucking on their nipples and not have someone grabbing their mom, things like that. Their kids are in school and they can do their own homework, things like that. That's probably an age that I find that people are a little bit more ready to go. And menopause, believe it or not. Yes, even though a lot of people say, they lose their drive when they're in menopause, when they are hormonally correct. They've gone and they've gotten, let's say, hormone therapy and their hormones are good. A lot of people are empty nesters. There's nobody in the house. They've either retired or are slowing down on their job. They're with their partner and they have more opportunity to play around, walk around naked, not worry about kids hearing them through the doors, can take showers a little more together, not have to worry about taking care of children, taking care of kids, and no one's around. So that age range and that 30, I see different shifts
Oh, okay.
and desires.
Um, I want to circle back what you mentioned before about hormonal therapy. Now, is that something that women are going to their primary physicians and asking for? How do they seek that out for themselves?
Definitely not primary. If anything, you start out with your GYN, but a lot of GYNs are not hormone specialists. They know that you might need some testosterone or estrogen, so they might give you some estrogen or testosterone, but they're not 100% many times educated on how hormones work post menopause and the numbers that are needed and the amounts that are needed. So they'll do basic stuff, which could potentially help some people. But I know in my example, I went to my GYN and they're like, oh, yeah, no, you're fine. You just need some estrogen. Gave me some estrogen, did nothing. Oh, yeah, we can give you some testosterone, but here's a little cream. Did nothing. I went to a hormone specialist. I can't think of the word now. I just lost my and not interventional medicine. What is a holistic medicine. And they did some blood work and they figured that I needed a little more of this, a little less of this, a little extra of this, put it all together. And we try all these concoctions and it works. So I would look for a hormonal type of or holistic type of doctor that works with hormones.
All right, y'all. Go to the
Yeah.
hormonal doctor and check out the hormones. Even if you are not dealing with menopause, I would still recommend that you go seek that out,
No,
especially for the girls that are in their 30s, because based on your family history, you can probably be going through premenopausal right now and you don't even know it.
that's true. That's true. And you know what? And you also have to think there's not, people are like, oh, well, I just need a pill to take to help me be horny. It doesn't work like that for women. Women are more in the mind. Like Dr. Ruth says, the largest 6 inches are from the ear to ear in a woman, you know, and that's your brain. And if your brain is not focused or you're not being, aroused properly, those are the things that women need to be turned on. It's not just a pill. Like a man needs the blood flow. A woman doesn't help as much.
Have you ever had a client who have come to you and they have dealt with infidelity and now they have lack of sex because of that?
But yeah, a lot of people. And if you're not going to get support from a therapist who focuses on infidelity, it's going to be difficult for you to get over it because you lost that trust. And remember at the beginning, I said that one of the most important things is safety. If you don't feel safe, you are not going to desire. And what happens many times is after an affair, it almost is the opposite, where the women are having sex all the time because they don't want their partner to leave again. And so they're doing it for the wrong reasons. A lot more sex. I have a lot of people that come in and the man is like, we have sex all the time. And the woman's like, yeah, because I don't want him to go elsewhere. But she's not doing it because she wants to. She's doing it to keep him around. And so you could have two different things. You're going to either have a partner that's going to overdo the sex, or you're going to have or that is 100% disconnected. And so at that point, you either need to go to therapy, and if it doesn't work, then you need to maybe go your separate ways. But it's very important if you're in a marriage to try to see what brought about that infidelity in the first place. And if you're able to get past, because some people are like, forget about it. If someone cheats, I'm done. It depends on your relationship. I don't
Right.
believe once a cheater is a cheater. I believe that people go out of their relationships for a purpose. And if you are open to finding that out, you could potentially make your marriage that much better. So it's always worth trying.
I think that
Yeah.
trust is very important and infidelity does shatter trust. The
Yeah.
person who committed the act doesn't realize that they have to rebuild trust before a woman can open up her body back up to you again.
Yep. Yep. And they can't be mad if the woman doesn't have desire and they goes, it's been 6 months. It doesn't matter. They need to get through and process that. And you need to be able to say, whatever I can do to make you trust me, I'm there for you. And that's why therapy is going to be one of the most important things that you can do if there's infidelity in your relationship.
Now, let me ask you this question, and this may be too far fetched, but forgive me, my mind just went here.
I'm all good.
Do your clients role play in front of you, the couples?
Only for an extra fee. No, I'm just kidding. You know what? Sometimes that is something that I will teach because a lot of people have no clue what to do with role play. I'll give them an example and they'll be like, yeah, but I feel weird doing it. I said, okay, so let's go ahead. Pretend that this person is so and so. Pretend that this person is so and so. They don't physically do anything in front of me, but they definitely will be able to talk back and forth and practice and understand that it is weird if you've never done it. But sometimes if they can't do it, I might give them an example and say, okay, let's pretend that you and I are doing this, but I'll do it with the woman. So that way, it's not with the man. And I might show them an example of how to role play. But that is something that can definitely spice things up. And I usually, one of the easiest role plays that I tell people to do is go to a bar or a restaurant, sit at a bar and have your partner come up to you and pretend that they're picking you up and then ask you to dinner and then have your first date at dinner and pretend that this is a completely new person. Ask questions, learn about each other.
Oh,
You
I
know?
love that.
Yeah, well, because so many times that we just forget who we are or we don't learn after a while. We think we're with someone for 20 years and we know them. People change. We don't know each other like we used to. We need to learn again.
I like that. Right. Because I may not be the same purple 5 days ago, no offense.
Yeah.
Like my
Well,
mood is
you know
switched.
what? Don't ask me my favorite color because in 20 more years, it's still going to be purple because 50 years ago, it was still purple. It is always purple, but
Right.
everything else changed.
You recommend that your clients have spontaneous sex, let's say outside on the beach or in the bathroom. I don't know. Let's dig a little bit, if you don't mind.
No, and you know what? People are usually saying, oh, well, we should have spontaneous sex, not scheduled sex. And I think both are important and both are needed. It's important to schedule and it's important to have spontaneous. And one thing that's important about spontaneous sex is to make sure that you are not doing it just to have the end result of orgasm. Because, like you said, in the bathroom or something like that, it's important to be able to just have a quickie, just to have a quickie. It's important to have a quickie and not worry about, oh, well, why would I have a quickie if I don't come? Okay, so save it for later. Edge yourself, build it up, build up that tension. You don't have to come every single time you have sex. All right, so you have an erection, take care of it for yourself or save it for later. Edging could be really, really, and edging just meaning building up that tension could be great for an explosive orgasm later on. Be in the car, fool around. Spontaneous sex also doesn't have to mean intercourse. It could mean a blowjob. It could mean being fingered in the backseat of a car. It could be that heavy play, that petting, things that you did when you were in high school. That's stuff we forget to do.
Listen, foreplay is the way to the heart. If you're not doing the foreplay, why?
Exactly. And I tell people my husband and I make out every single day, all day long. We woke up this morning, we brushed our teeth. I came downstairs. He goes, I didn't get a chance to cuddle you this morning. He grabs me, makes out with me. I take out my menopause fan because he got me all hot. And now I have to do this podcast with you when I could be having sex. But that's the idea, is that spontaneity does not have to be intercourse. It doesn't have to be orgasm. It just has to be arousing. Why is it? Because our lives are so busy. And one of the excuses that people have is, I don't have time. That's the number one excuse that people have. I don't have time. I have the kids. We're doing this. We're doing that. We're doing this. We're doing that. There's always time. Okay. Doesn't mean you have to do it for an hour. Sometimes you do it for 15 minutes. There's always time to connect. And once again, it doesn't have to be scheduled sex, meaning intercourse. It needs to be scheduled for connection. If we look at sex as connection and fun versus intercourse, we as women, first of all, will have that mindset of enjoying it much more. But also, we are setting aside a time to make sure we value our relationship and respect our relationship. And so even if you're busy and you're exhausted, everyone has 15 minutes. Just set yourselves, just say, you know what? I'm exhausted tonight, but we haven't connected. Let's connect tonight at 9 o'clock when we put the kids to bed and see what comes out of it. Maybe we connect with a massage. Maybe we connect with a shower. Maybe we connect with just sitting in bed talking with each other. Spontaneity and scheduling are both just as important. Sometimes scheduling is even more important.
In my mind, again, I'm not there yet, but in my mind, I'm like, if I schedule it, maybe I'm not going to have that much fun.
Right. But you know what you can do when you schedule it? You could say, okay, you know what? I'm going to schedule it tonight and I'm going to bring my clit cream. I'm going to bring my vibrator. This is my fan. I'm going to bring my vibrator. I'm going to set a candle and I'm going to take the music. And you're just going to sit there and you're going to think about it. And you're going to be like, oh, you know what? I'm going to wake up this morning and I'm going to shave and I'm going to put on really good smelling cologne or perfume. And you know what? I think I'm going to go buy some strawberries. And you think about it through the day and you prepare for the evening. And that way it's something to look forward to.
Mhm.
You could get a new game. You can do something fun, be creative, where if it's spontaneous, you don't have an opportunity to do that. You might be like, oh, I can't do it right now. I haven't showered in 24 hours. You don't want to go near there. And so that's why sometimes scheduling could be really nice.
I'm gonna just say, ladies and gentlemen, get you some wet wipes on the go. So
Yeah.
when you after work is okay, because clean sex is the best sex. That's all.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I want to change gears here and allow us to talk about the four sexuality types, which is allosexuality, demisexuality, asexuality, and egosexuality. Let's start with asexual. Let's start with allosexuality, which is natural attraction that people have with one another.
And, you know, the thing about naming things, you don't have to fit yourself in a box. And so even though you might fit into something doesn't mean you're always going to fit into it. You may change who you are, what you need, what you want, what you desire, what turns you on. You could be one time and then 6 months later feel something different. But the allosexuality is basically you're attracted to other people and you don't necessarily need an emotional bond first. It's basically anybody that's not asexual. Most people are allosexual, but you don't usually use the term. You just say, oh, yeah, I'm attracted to that person. Right. And I think that naming it matters sometimes because it removes the idea that asexual people are actually missing something. It gives them another name because you already have people are saying, oh, yeah, well, asexuality, but then what is someone who likes sex? Okay, allosexuality. So it helps.
To say that allosexuality are the girls and boys who like having casual sex because it's a sexual
So
attraction.
you don't need, right.
I can meet you in a
Right. You don't
club. Right. I can meet you in a club and we can just go ahead and get to the bedroom part.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, people who are allosexual could still have low desire, still have libido issues. But I know for me, when I met my husband, I just was like, you know what? Let's friend with benefits. I just want to get laid. Let's do it. I don't need to know you that well, but you're hot. I'm into you. Let's go have sex.
I wish I could be so bold. I'm too shy. I'm more of the demisexuality. So can you just elaborate on demisexuality?
Yeah, that's basically someone who is demisexual. It's a little bit more difficult for them just to go out and just say, "Oh, you're hot, let's go have sex." You want to have a little bit more of an emotional bond, a little bit more of an energetic connection. It's I don't want to say it's under the asexual umbrella, but it's like unless you have that connection, you may not want to have sex. Just because you see someone that's good looking, you may not want to have sex with them. Where I would see someone good looking, I'd be like, yeah, I'll do ya. It's the bond is that key for someone who's demisexual.
I find it funny. A few weeks ago, a girlfriend of mine were talking and I feel like she missed her mate all because she wasn't physically attracted to this man. He knew her in ways that we as her friends didn't know her, and she was able to express herself with him freely. And from the moment that I met him, I was like, this is your husband. And she's like, you know what's so funny? It's been over 15 years, and this man still calls me, checking on me. She done left the state of New Jersey, moved down to Georgia, and he is still right there by her side waiting for her. I feel like he's longing for her and she doesn't realize it. And she's like, I cannot do
But
this man.
you can't help who you're attracted. It's literally wired in your brain. You can't help who you're connected with. And, if I look at someone and I'm not physically attracted to them, I know that I could be someone that if I am physically attracted, I could have sex with you right away. But I also know if I'm not physically attracted, if I get to know you as well, that attraction can also come. So that's why I say you don't have to be one or the other. You could still have it build depending on where you are in the stage of life.
I need that emotional connection. You can be Denzel Washington and the pennies will not drop if I do not have an emotional connection with you. It's like I need it like I need air to breathe.
Right.
And her and I were talking, and I said, I want to have a season where I'm dating people because I'm sexually attracted to them. And my family was looking at me like I'm crazy. Like, so are you going to be judging people? It's not about judging people. I've never dated a man because I was attracted to him. It was always on an emotional connection. When I had discovered these sexuality types, it made sense to me. It made sense of why I got into certain relationships the way I got into them and how I was able to open my body up to them. It spoke to me naturally. It's okay for those who do need to have an emotional connection. But I feel like I want to try something different. I don't know. I'm still working on it mentally.
I just added lots of numbers to my, what do they call it? Body counts because, I was always, especially growing up. Now it's different. I think because of me being in love with my partner, if I see someone who's good looking, I don't feel attraction to them at all. I don't because of how I feel connected with my husband. And so, I could say, oh yeah, they're hot. But would I really want to do them? No. But if you asked me that 20 years ago, I'd be like, hell yeah, they're hot. I'm doing them. But it changed for me. It changed for me.
So let's get into the third one, which is sexual. Can you go over that, elaborate?
Yeah, I mean, that one is a little bit more, that one's probably a little closer to the asexual spectrum. It's almost the opposite of demisexuality, where they're turned on more by like the novelty of that initial connection and that chase, that not knowing you yet phase where you get like that increase of or adrenaline or whatever it is. And they're like, oh, I feel really, really attracted to this person. But as soon as you start getting to know this person, which I've worked with a lot of people that have gone through this, where they're like, I don't understand. I really like this person. And then as soon as I get to know them, I don't like them. I'm not attracted to them anymore. It's just more of like an internal wiring of how people are wired. It's just that need of novelty, of newness.
Have you ever seen the movie Friends with Benefits? Imagine this man and he's banging this chick out. The moment he bangs her out, he loses interest.
Right.
Doesn't
Because more novelty. He already got what he wanted. There's no newness. There's no chase.
and the woman is sitting there stuck like, what the hell just happened? So
Yeah. And
euphoria gets us tripped up every time. It takes over.
Well, what's the movie where it was with, I think it was Eddie Murphy, and he was, I don't know if it was the Gigolo or something, where he was always sleeping, and then there was one episode, one part of the movie where he was in bed and the woman left and he just goes, bye, because he
Boomerang.
like but was that what it was?
Boomerang, that's my move.
Just remember him sitting there and the woman just walks out and is like, okay, I'm done with you. And he's just kind of like, but that's what it is. That's what it is. And the thing is that a lot of people that are sexuals, they believe that something is wrong with them because, they're in a long-term relationship. And, sometimes learning the term, that there is a term for it, can bring really a lot of relief for them. Just be like, okay, I'm normal. This is something to do with my wiring. And sometimes they need to have a little bit more intentional newness, novelty, experiences. And those are the people that need to always have some type of a variety in your relationship. They can't just have that same piece of chicken every single day.
Listen, put on a different
You got
wig. Put on a different wig today. We got blonde, we got purple, we got pink, we got green. Pick a color.
Absolutely.
And let's go with the last one, which is asexuality.
Yeah, that one is more about enjoying like fantasies, erotic kind of content, things like that, but they don't necessarily enjoy sex. They enjoy kind of being in their own mind, their own fantasy. They enjoy reading, smutty books or things like them. They fantasize it, but they don't actually want to do it. They just feel disconnected from a partner, from partnered sex. Not really sure where that comes from. I mean, it could be something traumatic. It could be, but I just think also it's just like another legitimate identity that someone feels due to some wiring. People don't always have to want sex, and it has to, and it's okay. You know, they might just like cuddling in a relationship and emotional, connection versus actual intercourse, but yet love watching porn or love watching or listening to movies and things like that.
Reading Alexandria House.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with it. I'm here for all of it. Um,
Yeah.
but I
You know,
do.
and I think
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say that I think that um, just even knowing these words or these terms, people might be listening and they might be like, oh, damn, this actually sounds like me. I'm understanding it already. And people might be saying, oh, I heard a conversation on Just a Thought podcast. And you know what? I think I need to talk to my partner. I actually, because, we had talked about this before, I made a little handout that if anyone needs that actually tells people how to explain it to their partner as to what they are, the style that they are. And that way they don't have to worry about like, where do I start? So if people want to message me or get in touch with me through, drstacyfriedman.com and just let me know that they want the word guide that they saw on your podcast, I'm happy to send them a little PDF that I wrote up.
That's amazing. See, having a conversation, who would have known that you was going to be able to just write this up for people for this show and help them give them the
Yeah, I
language.
like to prepare. I like to prepare. Yeah, I call it, they could ask for, it's called the Attraction Style Guide.
Oh, the
Because
attraction style guide.
I mean, it's important. Like I said, I have guides for everything. It's important for people to know that they are normal, that all these things are normal that we're talking about.
Right. And like you said before, because I was going to mention that as well, that when you have the language to name a thing, it sends to your body a sense of relief, you know?
Absolutely. It can keep a lot of people from that confusion, hurt feelings, and just knowing that there is really something out there that they can name. And that's, what I hope that the guide can help people with.
This is my last question for you. When should a couple introduce their fantasies to their partner?
First of all, that comes with trust. If you know that your partner is going to, that you're feeling comfortable and you trust your partner. But it also goes with the curiosity because a lot of people are afraid to share fantasies because they're afraid of judgment. So, one of the things that you want to do is say to your partner, you know what I was thinking about? Why don't we have a discussion and learn about each other more intimately? And just bring about a conversation. And you can start talking about fantasies and just say, like, just make sure that we come to this conversation with curiosity and no judgment. And let's talk about this, this, and this. But what you could do, there's an app on the phones. It's called Card Deck. Gottman is a famous therapist, and he has an app, and it's called the Gottman Card Deck. And in it, it has a lot of questions. And it's really cool. I think it's a free app. It's really cool that you could just answer some of the questions and you click on mild, medium, and wild. And some of them are actions and some of them are actual questions. And you go to the sex questions. And instead of it, maybe you saying, oh, I have a question, one of those questions are going to come up. And so it's like someone else is telling me to ask it. That way, maybe you feel safe asking it versus just saying, hey, let's talk about fantasies. Or you can go online and search questions to ask your partner 101 and print them out and go through them. There's going to be a question on fantasies. I'm actually making an ebook right now that I'm almost done with that should be done probably in the next week or two. So definitely stay connected, but it's all about fantasies. I started it about 2 weeks ago and I was actually working on it this morning together. So I have a ebook that talks about how to talk to your partner about fantasies, how to do it the right way, and how to be able to know that you can talk about it and not necessarily have to actually do it.
How important or not is it for women to have lingerie in a bedroom with their spouse?
I think it's so personal. It's such a personal thing. My husband doesn't care for it. I don't care for it. I'd rather be naked. Some people get turned on by it. Some people like to wear it and feel sexy wearing it. I think it's very, very individualized and coupleized. I know a lot of men that do like it. And even though it might come off within 2 minutes later, it's something that the men like to fantasize. A lot of women, if you don't feel sexy or don't feel beautiful, I recommend women to get it for themselves, not for their partners, but to wear it under their clothes. Put on a really beautiful, sexy bra, put on a nice G string or whatever you're comfortable wearing and walk around knowing what's underneath. Maybe even if you're wearing a pair of pants, put on the stockings that are, with some stilettos and know that underneath that, you're wearing those sexy stockings, those thigh highs. So lingerie could be something for women to help them build confidence. But if it's something that the partnership enjoys, go for it. If not, like in my situation, we could care less. Sometimes it's fun to dress up and role play, but it doesn't have to be.
Now, where can people find you? Are you on social media, your website, etc.?
I am on social media everywhere. Dr. Stacy Friedman, and my website is drstacyfriedman.com. And I'm Dr. Stacy Friedman on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. I also have a podcast, and it's called The Purple Passion Project, talking all about sex and intimacy. So you could find me on all the major podcast streaming platforms. And like I said, I'm getting ready to put out a lot of great ebooks that are actually discussing a lot of the things that we discussed. And I have another book, and you can find a lot of great toys on my site as well. So that's me.
What would be a question that you will want to share with the audience so they can bring it back to their spouse or to themselves?
Well, one of the things that I always ask people is, what do you truly want for yourself and for your relationship, and why aren't you getting it? And that's one of the things that I get people to think about. It's like, you know what, I really want this. Why am I not getting it? Because I'm not asking for it. And so my suggestion is ask questions, find out what do you want, and talk to your partner and say, you know what, this is what I learned today. I want to know, what do you want that's going to make you feel good? What do you need sexually that we can bring variety in? Find out how you can make it fun. Because in my book, I have this, it's called The Confessions and Lessons of a Sexpert. And I have my own quote. I have a quote on every chapter. And it says, if you're not laughing and having fun while having sex, you're not doing it right. And that's basically saying you need to have fun. So find out, ask your partner, how can we have fun? How can we have more fun?
Until next time, guys. Thank you.